If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Good evening, everyone. This is me, Jonathan Alexander, and I'm here to host our show, Life After Happiness. Today, my co-host, Kelly, is not feeling well, so heart is with her. And I have my co-host, Barbara, here. Are you there, Barbara?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm here. I'm sorry, Kelly, that you're not feeling well. We're going to miss you tonight.
Yes. Now, what I thought was interesting about the past couple of weeks is that you got to go to a place that was very you've never been to before, at least as far as I know. And and when you would do the shows from there, you would do them at 2:00 in the morning, and that's a surprise to me. It's sort of like you're just like Kelly. You're a trooper. Now, why don't you tell us about, because what led you to want to go to Germany? Because this is where you went, Germany.
Oh, well, that is such a good question. Okay, for many years, I've had this wonderful best friend, which many of you probably know. She's been on the show, but you probably know her from being in the entertainment industry as a beautiful model and a playmate. Elke, my best girlfriend. We became roommates early on when we were brand new playmates, and she came in from Germany, and I had just come in from Nashville, Tennessee, moved to Beverly Hills, and here she comes. I'm Miss December 1992, and she's Miss May 93, and I had lived in a Beverly Hills apartment for a year, and I decided I wanted to have a roommate. And I called up Playboy and said, I'm looking for a roommate, and you have anybody? And then at the same time, she was calling in Playboy and asking the same thing, and they're like, well, as a matter of fact, we do. And so they put us together, and long story short, we became very close and such good friends. It's like we really know each other, like, where you just know everything about the person. And we love each other. And you know what? For all these years, 27 years, I never had been to her homeland. And it was just time, Johnny. It was time.
I would say so. I mean, I was 20 years old when you two met. I'm curious though. Now, I mean, when you that's really, why would you call Playboy for a roommate? Why don't you just put an ad in the paper?
Well, because Playboy was our family. I mean, when you become a Playboy playmate, you have Playboy to lean on for everything. I mean, we all had the same doctor. We all had the same accountant. I mean, you just called Playboy for everything. And Playmate Promotions people, they had a Rolodex of everything you needed. I mean, they wanted you to have a great life when you're taken care of. If you didn't have anywhere to go that night, you go up to the Playboy Mansion for dinner. I mean, that was your family. That question is actually odd to me, but now that I'm thinking about it, wow, it is a good question because most people didn't realize that. But yeah, that's how it was.
A lot of people don't have that. They don't have this like, oh my God, like for instance, I will tell you though, it's actually not completely odd because many years ago, one of my friends, she has passed on, Linda Weissmeyer,
Yeah.
And was telling me, and she gave me the impression that Playmates, were it's almost like a sisterhood. I mean, it was just sort of like.
That's right.
I mean, I don't. She didn't give the impression that you could call somebody up and ask for help, but I guess in a way it sort of is, because like what I find amazing is that there's all this talk about degrading, but you can't make all these women do all this by force. So obviously they're there with their own free will. I mean, when you have those parties, they're all there on their own free will, wearing those outfits. They're all there voluntarily. I mean, nobody.
Oh well, yeah.
Putting a gun
We
to your
felt
head.
proud. No, we felt proud. We had a lot of pride because when you're shooting for Playboy, you realize that it's not like they just look at you like you're a piece of meat. They care about what's inside, and they are choosing you. Hef chose you for more than how you looked. You would stay up at the mansion just so he could interact with you, have dinner, and be in a group atmosphere, a lot of cocktail parties, a lot of nice people coming up there in the afternoon to see, are you going to be a good representative for the company? And it was more than just how you looked. So when you were shooting for them, they made you feel so special, like you were great in every way, not just because you looked good.
That's just it. I mean, you're basically repeating every single story that I've ever heard from every single playmate. I mean, Terry Lindahl said the same thing. I mean, she was like, well, when I was in there shooting, oh my God, it was wonderful. Oh my God, it was wonderful. You would think that if somebody was guilty of hurting a woman or something, by now somebody would have complained about Hugh Hefner. I mean,
right. And isn't that incredible that all these years, since 1953, that there has never been one complaint about Hugh Hefner, not one complaint.
It just, yeah, I mean, you would think by now something would have happened.
And not one. I've never heard of one. Have you? I mean, no. There hasn't been one. It's incredible.
There's nothing that I can. The reason I wouldn't believe it, okay, is because it's okay. First of all, this is what I think. I think that in the mansion, when Hugh Hefner walks into a room, everybody would stare at Hugh Hefner. So, or at least notice him more than they would notice anybody else. You would notice Hugh Hefner before you'd notice me. You understand? So I think that if that's the case, then probably it would be harder for Hugh Hefner to do something against the woman because everyone's going to notice. It's like if you would have to sort of, there would be stages of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Of, how there's stages of when you meet someone and then, you get to know someone and then eventually they do it, so to speak, they have sex, but there's stages that lead up to before that. And I think that if a woman were to come on to him or, be in a relationship with him, those stages would be seen by everybody there. Like what would happen is that you would immediately notice the woman sitting next to Hugh Hefner. You understand?
Yeah.
You would notice the woman sitting next to Hugh Hefner, and then you would be like, okay, well, you were sitting next to him, and then, okay, and I don't remember you leaving, so.
Right.
And,
well, if you didn't want to, you would not feel a pressure in any sort of way. If you wanted to. So I think the only time that anybody may have said anything that was they weren't happy, not that he did anything bad to them, but that they were not happy, is probably if they were sent away and not one of the girlfriends anymore. But that was like later on in his life after he divorced Kimberly Hefner. After that time, the Girls Next Door show, around that time, when he had 7 girlfriends, and it was like a lot of them were living there, and some of them didn't work out, but some of them also didn't want to leave, and they were asked to leave for whatever reason. I know he did not like it when the girls argued with each other or tried to point a finger or complained to him about the other one. He did not stand for that. So there was a lot of that going on, and then those ones would be asked to leave. But as far as like hurting anybody or forcing them to do anything or being weird in any way as a man to a woman, that I've never heard of.
Actually, another thing that I find kind of funny is that, this guy started this magazine from getting a loan from his mom. I mean, that's just hysterical. I mean, you would not.
I know.
I mean, just can you imagine what that conversation must have been like? Yes, I want to start a magazine that has nude women in it, and I just was wondering if you could loan me the money to start it. Well, why? I'm sure his mom probably said, "Why don't you just cover something else like Airplanes?" No, I want to cover nude women.
A pretty good idea for back then, and look what has happened. But the whole thing is over. The way it used to be when he passed away, it was very sad because it's like really the end of an era. But I can say that I had a lot of time at all those events and the travel and the parties and the work and the wonderful lifestyle and the being a part of the Playboy Enterprises was just amazing. But what about the ones that only had a taste of it and then he passed away and it's like, oh, no more mansion parties? I mean, that is sad. And yes, it's over, but like Elke and I, we got it all. We lived it. We can honestly say, because when I came along, you have to remember he was married and he had 2 little new kids. One was in a high chair still. I was eating breakfast with every morning before I would go to the studio to shoot. And the other one was 2 years old. Okay. There was toys everywhere. It was not wild. And I'm like, oh man, I only heard about all of these fun parties that people described and the pictures. And I guess I missed that. Oh no. So after they split up, it all came back again. Like, with a vengeance, and it was like, wow. I mean, I'm not glad that their marriage didn't work out, but it was a way to come back and have it be like better than even before, and it was just so enjoyable.
I'm curious, because I mean, you let's get back to the trip. When you went to Germany, did it kind of throw you off the difference in language a little bit?
Well, I was just talking to my mom about that, and she had been to Germany too. And I said, you know what? If I didn't hear the people talking, I wouldn't even I felt really comfortable there. I didn't feel like I was so far away because it was really, really I feel like a couple of times I said, I feel like I could just be in LA right now, minus the amazing 800-year-old churches and buildings. But it is even better than that. It is so clean. It is just like they have really strict laws about keeping that city clean. And I really noticed that. But I felt like the people were warm. And you asked about the language. Okay. I told her that up to about 70 years old or 60 years old, 60, 65, they all speak English. But if you are talking to somebody who's 70 or in their 80s, no, they don't. But after that, they started teaching the children. It was like they taught them English right away in school. So most people, you would talk to them in English, And then they would always say, "Oh, my English isn't very good," but it was. It was just totally fine. It was perfectly good, and you could have a conversation with anybody.
You could pretty much go into a restaurant and then you wouldn't be.
Oh no, they
the
always
door.
have. Most restaurants had an English menu. They called it a card, and this you would have to ask for it. But I mean, it was hard to choose your meal with a German printed menu. I mean, it was almost impossible. So it was nice that they had that, but it wasn't like U.S. It didn't say United States flag on the bottom. It always had Britain. It was from the England flag, English, on the bottom of the menu. So that was kind of interesting. But Elke did a lot of interpretation for me while I was there, and she did teach me some things, and she was so impressed, and it was like, wow, that made me feel so good. Like I would say some German, and I would speak a little German to somebody on the train when we were traveling, and she was like, wow, you're doing so great. She goes, I'm learning new things about you. She didn't expect that out of me, and so that was good. You know, that was fun. And
why don't you show us some of the
I was
German
proud.
words?
Okay. Frau, now it's ja. Guess what that means? Frau,
I love you.
now it's ja. No, that's ich liebe dich. I love you. It's ich liebe dich. That is Happy New Year.
Okay.
And I said that quite a bit. And then after like me saying it like 2-3 days after the New Year, she's like, okay, now you say bitteschön, like good day, or it was something like a greeting because it was done. You were done saying Happy New Year now. So that was funny. And, you know, Dankeschön means thank you. But I knew that from her just living with her. But I really had not even learned much about Germany at all, just living with her. She really just was more about becoming Americanized. And when we were living together, I wrote out sentences and helped her with sentence structure because she hardly even, it was pretty broken. But she picked up on it really quickly. But she kept the notes and the sentences that I helped her write for years. And I didn't know that. And then she goes, look, I've kept all of these for years. And I'm like, wow, that's special. So it was really cool to like turn the tables and me go into her land and see her there and seeing how happy she was. That was warming my heart. And then I also got to see exactly where she grew up because her parents still lived in the same home where she grew up with her brother. And I had met her mom and her dad and her uncle and her brother at different times when they all came out to America just one time. But this was like 19 years before. So a special thing that I wanted to do, when her mom came out and visited her 19 years ago in LA, she made German potato salad. And oh my goodness, was this ever so good. I had never tasted anything like it. I was going on and on. And she gave me Tupperware full of it. And I took it home to my boyfriend at the time. And then I gave it to this friend. And everybody was raving about it. So I said, when I come to Germany, I would like to learn this recipe and make that with your mom. And we made a huge day of it. It was planned out 2 months prior. We planned out the exact day, the exact time. You know, that's how Germans are, too. They're on time. And if they plan things, they're going to be there. I love that. And so my daughter, Priscilla, and I went to the home, and it was her dad, Karl Heinz, Rosemary, her mother, Elke, and me and Priscilla. And she had everything laid out and the special potatoes and taught us how the special way to peel them off, like so delicately, and the way and the size to chop everything, and the amount of vinegar. And we took, Elke and I both, this was special to her too, because she's going to carry this recipe on, the kind of vinegar. And we took pictures and I was Googling, where could we get this in America when we want to make potato salad again, the German kind. and the vinegar and the special pickles. It was so cute too because it was the mom. She like really was a little bit worried and anticipation about this potato salad making day. You know, she wanted it to be good, and she did forget the jar of pickles. But I go, neighbor, and she ran to the neighbors, and this neighbor had even better. They handmade these pickles. It was a jar of handmade, beautiful dill sweet pickles, and we put that in the potato salad, and oh my gosh, it turned out even more special because of that. But I mean, that's just fun stuff. I mean, that really was a wonderful day in Hanover.
Is that, would you say, the highlight of your trip?
Well, one of them, but I'd say there was a couple other highlights, and one was that Elke and I traveled on the train a few hours to Lübeck, Germany, and we had this planned out to spend New Year's Eve there together with one of her wonderful, amazing friends who hosted this whole night for us, picked us up from the train station, totally fun, cool guy, Fritz, and whisked us off to our little hotel we were staying at, the Lindenhof in Lübeck. And, well, first he dropped us out there. We then went to dinner, early dinner, classic German, and they're very proud. They're very proud. They want you to have their German food. They want you to experience it. They want you to see their city. They want you to experience it. They really want this. And they're very happy, and they're always laughing, and they're warm, and nobody's like giving you dirty looks at all, or because you're different, or for any reason.
So German,
they're so nice, and they can't leave you alone. What was that?
So Germans are like, let me cook for you, right?
They want to cook for you. They want to show you their famous recipe. They want to take you to their special restaurant that you have to have this, and you know, the wiener, everything starts with wiener schnitzel, wiener this, wiener that. I mean, like, I expect it to look like a wiener, and it's not. It's like pieces of veal, breaded, you know, but it's always called wiener. So that kind of was confusing to me. I'm like, just order me something good. And it every time was good. But, let me tell you about the wonderful New Year's Eve, okay? So we get to this place, and I love these restaurants because they all have blankets on the chairs. And so you put the blankets over your lap. So we first went to the little cafe, and it was outdoors. And this is pretty cold there, like 22 degrees. But I thought it was going to be a lot colder, so I was fine. And you put the blankets over your legs, and you just, like, are out in the cafe with all the people, and it's just like, wow, wonderful, like charming people. And then he took us to the nightclub. We had this VIP section that was elevated. Got everything for us, this big array of whatever we wanted, whatever was like, it was just like, wow. It's like we had it made, really. And we danced the night away, and everybody always got us home safely, and we were just fine. Then everything is about taking the train. I love that, taking the train. And you get on the train, and it's beautiful. We always had the dining table. You sit there for 3 hours. You don't even care if it's 3 hours because you're basically having a dinner or a cappuccino, you know? So you're enjoying that. Everything seems to be you're enjoying every moment there. Like, everything is enjoying. It's about enjoying life. That's what I got out of it. And there's always special meeting points, too. And these meeting places are these famous, like, structures that were there for 800 years. I've never seen anything like it. Another place we traveled to was Cologne, Germany. And that was another train ride for a few hours. And we just went there for the day. And we did a photo shoot together at
I remember that.
Super Candy.
You holding the flags.
Yeah.
With
That's so
the
cute, too. the photographer brought this American flag, as a prop, and he had this cool tight jumpsuit, turquoise jumpsuit that he let me wear, and it turned out to be a really cute photo. But this Instagram is doing this new kind of thing. I think they even have one in LA. They're called Super Candy Pop-Up Museums. It's this warehouse that you walk into, and it's all mostly pink. They have like makeup tables, and people come. They just pay $30 for 2 hours. Kids, parents, sisters, whatever. Housewives, they come just to look at it, take some selfies. There's over 25 little sets that are totally cool and cute. I posted one photo so far, and you've got those like balls that you lay in and everything. And we took this photographer up there to Cologne, Germany, and he shot us. We just alternated. I was changing. She shot, vice versa, and got some amazing shots. They let us stay longer. You leave, they hand you like a little mini bottle of champagne and then a little ice cream treat. It's so cute. And they're nice and they're young and they're hip and they're cool. And they're like, I want to go to Huntington Beach, but will you invite me to Huntington Beach? And they're like these Germans that never have been out of Cologne, Germany. And, we seem so cool to them because we're living in California. So it was fun.
I remember I saw your video that was posted the other day it was like Elke and I think it was this one where Elke had this gun and she was spitting out Monopoly money.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Really kind of cute, like pop art.
Was that Monopoly money, or was that just what was that she was spitting out?
That was just like money that they made, that pink bills, and it would shoot out of this cute little gun. And okay, if you guys go on to the Super Candy Pop Museum or the Candy Museum, any one of those search engine words on Instagram, you'll see. Okay, there's tons of Instagram photos of the sets and things, and we've shot in all of those, and it was totally cool. I mean, that was it's awesome when you can go on a vacation and get a day of work in and come back like you've accomplished some really great artistic things. I love modeling, so I was able to do that. Yeah, well, it's a sense of accomplishment. Like we accomplished creating something totally cool. And that, to me, that's what I love. I mean, it's hard work. I mean, standing there and posing, people think that's so easy. It hurts, and you're tired, and you've got to put your smile on. You've got to do your expression, and you've got to make sure your hand is in the right place. I mean, that sounds stupid, but you know what? It's not, because it moves somebody. That image you create, somebody looks at that, and it moves them.
The planning that's involved. The planning that's involved, because like for instance, sorry to cut you off if I cut you off, but the planning that's involved, it's like there's a lot of, okay, move this, stand here, stand there, move this, hair up, back straight.
Right.
I mean, and oftentimes.
Well, yeah, but also we couldn't even hear the photographer. We couldn't even hear him because so we got no direction because there was music and he was it's far away, the lens, and you know what? Couldn't hear. It was a warehouse, kind of echoey. So you're on your own. I mean, if you're not looking good, that's up to you. I mean, he's not sitting there able to tell you anything. So that was like, you have to be ready for any kind of situation as a model. You could have no direction. You could have a lot of direction. But Johnny, it's not just the posing. It's like the outfits and the suitcase, okay, and who's going to bring this, and, the makeup, and you have to be on time, and because if we only have an hour and a half for each person in the makeup and hair, and then we don't have a lot of time for meet and greet, we got to get to it, and then we're doing all the behind the scenes nowadays. That's so in, like, to do all the social media of getting ready. That's part of the fun too. So you're trying to film that, you're trying to take this in selfies, and then you're rushing. I mean, literally, when Elke left, she got her makeup and hair done first. She went to park the car to get on the train to wait for us. I was still finishing up with my hair with the makeup artist. And then I said, we got to go. He had to call the cab. We rushed to the station, literally jumped on the train. And I'm like, Elke, where are you? Where are you? We're on the train. That started moving. I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, where's Elke? Where's Elke? Stop the train. They're not going to stop. Oh my God. She then was like walking towards us on the train. She already was on. She's like, ha, I saw you guys. I saw your white jacket. Like you were running and you could hop. Literally, the train doors closed and 5 seconds later we were moving. That's how close we were to missing it.
Well, not only that, I'm sure like sometimes they do a photo shoot where you're wearing a bathing suit and it's cold. And you have to pretend that it's not cold. Like, like I've seen some cases. I think it was a model that we've had on before, Heather Pariseau, and this is a picture of her wearing a bathing suit, and I went, yeah, okay, what was that like? She goes, well, it was cold, but you can't act like it's cold. You have to stand there and smile. It is probably like 50 degrees outside, and you're probably in no position. You're not in the mood to be staying there wearing a bathing suit and a bikini,
Right,
I mean,
and you have to, because you can't look like that, otherwise the photo's not going to be worth anything because they're going to be nice to look at because they're going to be like, oh, she looks miserable. So you do have to look like happy. So that, and, sometimes the shoes kill you and they're hurting, or it's too tight, the outfit, or anything. I mean, it could be a lot of things. The eyelashes poking your eyeball. It could be a lot of things.
Right. I guess that's but it must be. Do you ever have? Because I know that this is the first time you and Elke have done a photo shoot in Germany. Are the
we did one in
photographers
France
different
together, though.
Okay.
No,
France.
well, yeah, we did one years ago. We both got booked on it. It was kind of weird. They didn't even know we knew each other. They didn't even know we were roommates, what was so funny about it was that they wanted 2 all-American girls to shoot this Ferrari calendar. And they choose her and I. I mean, she's not American. Isn't that funny? They didn't even know we knew each other. And here we're going to fly to Bordeaux, France to do this.
I'm curious
years
to know
ago,
what exactly do they mean by all-American? I mean, I'm not putting. I mean, there's a certain. I don't know. All-American means. See, to me, girl next door is a better term than all-American, because if somebody says all-American, that sort of implies that there's not positive traits in women from other countries. Honestly,
no, it's probably because they want blonde, blue-eyed, beach-type looking girls. Okay, it's nothing to do with that. It's all-American look is like the blonde, beachy, blue-eyed type with the tan.
Why don't they just say blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls? Why don't they just say that? I mean, instead of just saying, the problem is that you're assuming that there's negative traits with somebody that just happens to be from Norway or Sweden, or, I think.
Well, you know what? You go on castings and they're like, well, we want a European look. And I don't get offended. I think, okay, well, let's try to look European. I mean, hey, hey, we're models. It's called advertising. We need to sell something here.
Right.
I mean, that's our job.
Well, there is a difference.
We complain
There's
about
a difference. That? I think one of the things that one of the things that I like that Playboy does, that sometimes, one of the people that we've had on is a lady named Kate Banaszak, and she was Miss Delaware, and she did a video where she talked about how people in Delaware, they never win and they never get placed, and I had her on and I said, look, I don't understand, because this is what happened. I got some heat many years ago from a lady that was in beauty patches, not Kate Banaszak, but another lady, that I was friends with all these playmates, and, in that it didn't make sense. Why do you want to hang out with those women for? It doesn't make any sense. So I told Linda Weissmeyer about this, and Linda goes, you know what? I think that the beauty pageants are worse because the pageants, you're comparing another woman to another woman to another woman. And I said, yeah, and it seems that, what Playboy does is that you're, based on the assumption that just because a woman is a 10, that she has to look like every other woman. I mean, there's a kind of sexiness that you have that's different than the kind of sexiness that an Elke Jensen would have, but that doesn't mean neither one of you are tense. I mean, like, for instance,
I like what you're saying. I understand.
Like, for instance, for instance,
that's good.
I think something about Mary when I think of you, Barbara, because it's like I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, it's like every time I talk to you, I keep waiting for you to be rude, and then you're not.
Oh.
And it's like,
Really?
and then, or I keep waiting. What?
Really?
What?
Why? Why would you wait for me to be rude? Me personally.
What I'm trying to,
that's a stereotype.
What I'm trying to say is that somewhere, it gave people get this in their mind. The reason why something about Mary was so interesting was because this guy, he meets this girl, and she's really, really, really sweet, but she's really, really, really pretty, and somewhere I think people got it in their mind that if you're really, really, really pretty like you are, that there is a bounce. There must not be a lot of something else, which means that she must have the personality of a carrot. Okay? So, and then you get to, and I guess that's just because of it's a natural. I should not have said I keep waiting for you to be rude, but what I'm saying is that the reason it reminds you of something about Mary is I could see you doing something for like special needs kids or something. I could see you doing all that, and then you're a knockout. So you see, the something about Mary goes against the whole. For some reason, there is a stereotype. There is this thought that if you're really, really gorgeous, you must not have the very good personality because you can't have both.
Or not that you don't have a very good personality, but you're not kind to less fortunate people. Because,
nobody really assumes.
And that's sad.
I mean,
that's sad
to
be assumed that all the time.
Instance,
and you're right.
Right, like I told
Johnny, you're right.
I told. Yeah, it's not
You're
true.
right, because I have felt my whole life that I have to be, I always call it overly nice. I've found myself being overly nice so many times because I know that people are going to think that I am a stuck up bitch if I don't act that way. And that's sad.
Yeah, and it's
well,
and it's like
some do have that, but you know what? Then that's misconstrued sometimes because if they, like in junior high and high school, I was like, I felt like they always were going to say I'm a stuck up all the time. So then instead of being overly nice because I got confidence later in life in my 20s from Playboy, I became an introvert because I was afraid of saying anything because, they're going to think I'm stuck up, but then if I talk, they're going to say, you're stupid and laugh at me. And you know what? It was just, you become inside yourself. So I think that some of the women that are pretty who are quiet and don't have a personality, like you said, personality of a carrot. Well, you know what? That's not fair either because maybe they have been stereotyped so much that they don't do what I did where you kind of bloom and you come out of your shell. They have stayed in the shell. They have stayed in this prison of a shell. And it's just sad because they're afraid to do anything because, somebody's going to say something like, oh, ha, ha, ha. They can't handle it. So it's not always so wonderful.
What I meant to say by I keep waiting for you to be rude, what I meant to say is that you're not, and it goes against that stereotype. It goes against the stereotype of a natural balance. Like, it seems that every time, and it is true, like every time that there's a movie, doesn't it seem kind of like when somebody is really, 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 really good looking, they don't portray them as having a really, really nice personality. And it's always there was a movie that was made many years ago, and it was called The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Was what it was, and and apparently there was a bunch of people who were disabled who got offended by the movie. And this is why, okay? In the movie, the hunchback falls in love with the woman, but in the end, he doesn't get the girl. This other person who's a prince gets her. And it's like immediately, it's like, well, and my answer to that is maybe the prince is better choice. I mean,
well, maybe that is just their story. There are certain stories.
It's not like it's not like person. It seems to me that's just the way Hollywood portrays certain types of people. Like if I was in a sitcom or something, they would probably have me do certain things just because I'm disabled, and they would say, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, I think that, like, with you, it's like something about Mary, in the sense that you have this really, really beautiful woman, immediately everybody's going to assume, okay, why is she going to be nice? She's nice to me? That's what I meant by please,
Yes, I understand. I understand.
Yeah,
I mean, I've even witnessed many times of, like, okay, people, you can feel their energy, okay, and they're feeling a certain way, and then you start talking, and then you're warm, and you're kind, and then you can literally feel them, like, letting out a breath of relief. It's just, it is something, and not saying I'm so wonderful or beautiful or anything, but I mean, this has an effect. I mean, on people, the looks of people has a big effect on people. But what are we going to do? I mean, this is the world that we're living in. So all you can do is be kind and good.
Right. And
be the best you can be.
I was selling vitamins. That was one of the things that kind of led me to do this show. And I told one of my friends, I said, I sold vitamins to a Playboy Playmate. What do you think of that? Why did that happen? And why did nobody else do it? And she went, because Playboy Playmates are stupid. I'm like, okay, so you're basically making a comment about how many women have done it?
Yeah.
How many? I mean, you're basically calling. I mean, they have a personality of a carrot. Oh, yeah, right.
Well, what, that's just because she's just not looking good by saying that, because that's just basically saying, hello, look at arrows at me, I'm jealous. That is what, she is not controlling herself when she says that, because that's really not a smart comment. That's ridiculous. It's putting a whole big group of wonderful women that I know personally that are my Playmate sisters into a group and calling us all stupid. So, you know what? I'd like to see her face to face with all of us and see if she's going to say that in front of our face. You know what? She would not do that. So, like I said a second ago, all we can do is be kind, good, and the best person we could be. And that comment from that woman, I don't think that was her best.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it wasn't her best.
I've seen. Let me tell you another instance where it's like I think what it is I'll tell you another playmate that I've spoken to that also has kind of the something about Mary thing, Shauna Sands. I sort of see a little bit about the something about Mary thing in her because
she's
like
so very sweet.
Well, like I was talking to her and I said, you know, when we go out to the photo shoot, you know, I'm going to get made over for the photo shoot. And she would, be careful, you just might get married. You remember that?
Oh, I remember.
I mean, it was
yeah.
And see,
you always will remember that.
But like
I
Elke,
do remember.
you know, Elke is sort of like very, I don't know, you know, it's like, my goodness, you know, she makes Germany fascinating. She has this sort of, she makes Sweden fascinating too. But like, you know, it's like I looked at her picture, and every time I look at the picture, I think, oh my God, you know.
I know, those beautiful cheekbones and the jawbone and the blue eyes and
it's like
it just exudes sensuality.
Know, and then she'll say things like, "Well, I entered in the contest and I won a car," you know, and
it's just so real. You know, it's just real.
Yeah,
and it really, she's just real.
She has never been fake. She's never been made up. She's never been. None of you have ever been fake. None of you have ever been made up. None of you have ever taken something that wasn't, you know, that didn't. And actually, some of the reasons why you've done. Now, I've talked to some people who didn't. I talked to one lady who wasn't a playmate, but her reasons for doing Playboy were very interesting. Do you want to hear the story?
Wait, she wasn't, but she did do it?
Well,
you
no,
just
she
said
wasn't
she
a
wasn't
playmate.
a playmate.
But she
But her
did
reasons
do
for doing it, well,
were interesting.
oh, you mean she was featured as a model?
Yeah,
in the magazine,
model.
But not a
not
a centerfold.
Right.
Okay.
And
what?
Well, here's what happened.
Okay, but she did pose in it.
Yes, she did pose.
Okay.
Jill St. Mark's. Okay.
Well,
was her name, and what happened was that she wasn't a centerfold, but what she did was she wanted to pose topless because there's a stigmatism that's attached to women being topless, and she wanted to kind of, you know, fight that stigmatism, you know.
Oh, really? Because over there, I mean, they go to the beach with their dad topless. It's not like. Is this a sexual? Are the breasts a sexual thing? No, I mean maybe in a certain connotation, but no. They go to the spa. They joked with me. Oh, Barbara, we're going to take you to the spa. You know, it's co-ed. You know, I would feel so uncomfortable. Okay, yes, I did pose in Playboy, but that doesn't mean that I go around comfortable, like with my top off in public, or go to the co-ed spa. I mean, you know, it's like people always think, oh, well, you're modest. Well, yeah, but you did Playboy. No, it's different. Okay, you're on a set, and it's a controlled environment, and it's different than walking around like you're in a nudist colony. And some people didn't pose in Playboy but are comfortable with that. So it is different. And how would you explain how that is different, Johnny?
Well,
can you explain that?
Yeah, I don't know. You mean, why is it different? Why is posing for Playboy different than being in the nudist colony?
How could I be a modest person in my daily life but yet have posed in Playboy? People don't understand that.
This is,
I mean, not many, but I think a couple of them haven't.
This is my explanation. I mean, okay, I go to the doctor, and you know, I am checked out, you know, and you know, I have to drop my pants.
No
Now,
way.
do
Do you ask for a woman doctor or do you care?
Well, to me, it doesn't really matter, but I've had men doctors. But the point is that, the ones that I've had where I basically just, drop my pants and he's, examining me. The point I'm trying to get at here is that obviously that would be very different than, running into a person on the subway who happens to be bored and starting up a conversation with me and asking me to drop my pants. Okay? Now,
asking you to what? I missed that. Asking you to what?
Asking me to drop my pants. Asking me to drop my pants.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I know what that guy is doing. He's just doing a job. He's doing a job because he knows what he knows what, what the body's supposed to look like, and so it's kind of like with the way you are when you go to the gynecologist. Now, I don't know if you're nervous when you go to the gynecologist or not.
Well, it's a feeling like, okay, it's an uncomfortable feeling like, okay, I don't like it, but it's just like, okay, you trust your doctor and they are doing this all day, and you just have to put that in your mind, like, okay, they're doing this all day. It's just the body. It's your anatomy. I mean, it's about health. And then you just have to put your mindset into that. And then, but you get this doctor that you trust, and that's wonderful. And I've never had any bad experiences, but gosh, can you imagine going to a doctor and having a bad experience, and then it leads to like an arrest and a lawsuit and all that because he invaded that trust and was a weirdo. I mean, that would be horrible. That's
why most doctors will very rarely examine you alone. They will usually have a nurse in the room or a nurse present because they don't want to give any ammunition to various accusations. But I think that it must be hard because it's like. Are
you getting tired, Johnny? Or did
you
yawn?
No. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. It's just that, what it is that I did a lot of walking today. What it is that I think that it's hard because, it's sort of like what I think a good analogy is Nelson Mandela was talking about boxing. And I know you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with Playboy? But I'll explain in a minute. And he was talking about the sport, and then they said to him, I don't understand, you've been campaigning against violence and, for years, and you were fighting violence and you were doing all this. And here you are talking about getting in the ring and pounding someone in the face. I mean, what's the difference? And he said the difference is that it's not forced.
Yeah.
The difference is that nobody is making you do it. So I think that if somebody, were to have you do that and it isn't forced, it isn't, not care about the fact that you're a person, not care about the fact that, you're not this piece of meat in the sense that there's a person, who is deserving of dignity. But also I think another aspect of it too is that the reason I think that I relate really well to a lot of your friends is that men, we see women in a sexual way, not necessarily as sexual objects, but we see them in a sexual way, and sometimes it can get us into trouble, And sometimes what we'll do is we'll see celebrities in a sexual way or someone in a sexual way, but then these celebrities, they don't want to be seen in a sexual way. They don't want you to think of them in a sexual way. They don't want you to think one sexual thought about them. The problem is that what that does is it kind of buries it, and then it makes it grow up, and eventually you can't think about them in any other way. Now, what you've done, okay, is you say, I'm not pigeonholing you. I'm just saying that at one point you did something. You said, I'm Barbara Moore. Think of me in a sexual way. Okay, think of me in a sexual way. And then you say, okay, then the men are like, okay, we're thinking of you in a sexual way. And then after men are done thinking of you in a sexual way, they're like, you know what? I also want you to think of me in another way. Think of me as a mom. Think of me as that. In other words, because you've given the men that, you're okay with them, you've given them that it's okay to think of you in a sexual way, it's sort of like because you've given them that permission, it's actually easier, don't you think, to kind of see you as in a different form. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But then what's so cool is that being with Playboy and this name, this brand is so huge that if they meet a Playboy Playmate, they get a little timid, they get shy because they don't want to do something to offend the Playboy Playmate, and so the name has a lot of power. So you can use that power as protection. And I feel like this has given me a lot of respect just to have that title. So that's good.
But
and why not? You know what? If we're given this a gift, why can't we enjoy it? Why can't we? You know what? America is so strange about sexuality. It is a big part of our life, people. Okay,
I'll tell you.
So why aren't we enjoying it? Let's enjoy that part of life. It doesn't have to be every part of our life, like you said. The mom, the friend, the neighbor, everything.
But yeah,
it can be normal.
If you'll notice, I found that it's actually easier to give like some good-looking lady that happens to work on Fox News. It isn't as easy to give the lady that works on Fox News that respect as it is to give Barbara Moore that respect, because it's like,
well, yeah, and it's easy on the eyes.
See, Barbara Moore just says, okay, think about me in a sexual way. You can, okay, think of me in a sexual way. Okay, now I'm a mom, and now I'm and then everybody's like, oh, great, well, wait a minute, she's okay with us thinking about her that way. She deserves to also be seen as a mom, and to be seen as, and that's why I think somebody like Jenny McCarthy is actually more of a person to talk about a cause than, say, some actress who's never even done it, because she spends her whole life. What?
Yes, I agree. She has been there in the whole sphere of things. She has been the sex object, and she's also the entertainer, and she's also the mom, and she's also the wife.
Then,
she's so many things. So can't we be it all? Can't we be everything?
I know. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think there's some actresses out there that just don't feel comfortable being thought about in a sexual way. It's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, if you just let men think about you that way, then they're going to be more inclined to be open to thinking about you in other ways.
So why not? Yes, that's right. Why can't they think about that? If they're not telling you and they're not being vulgar to you with their words. I mean, does this hurt you with what they're thinking? If they're not doing anything to you, they're not stalking you, they're not harassing you. So who cares? Like, people are like, well, what do you think they're doing with your pictures? I don't care. I'm not there. I'm not with them when they're looking at, like, whatever. Let them have their fantasy. I just don't feel that this is something evil or something bad. I don't. I feel like it is a fantasy. I feel like it is not real. It's a creation. Like, I go on a photo shoot. You asked me the other day, well, what do you think when you're shooting? People think, we're getting turned on. They think we're like, we're not doing porn movies. We're thinking about making the image just right. We're making that image beautiful. We're creating something which takes effort and work.
And I've never understood.
Yes, it's enjoyable sometimes, but I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, the camera's clicking and we're just in some kind of a euphoria. No.
But actually, this
is
another
sorry
thing.
to tell you, that's not
what
is really happening.
There's an actual term that I just never understood. Treating women like sex objects. Now, I want to say something to this because I know that if memory serves me right, you were on true or false, you were on a Playboy magazine cover with Jerry Seinfeld, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's going for the top biggest price on eBay. It's going for like $3,000 on eBay now.
Okay. Here's my question.
I'm wondering why myself, and I'm like, well, they say it's because Jerry Seinfeld, like you told me. Were you the one who told me why it's so
I don't
expensive?
know. All I know is that there was this particular issue where he's on the phone and he's in front of a telephone booth and there's a bunch of women in the booth. Okay, I assume you were one of them.
October '93. Okay. Yes, I was, and it's with 7 playmates.
If this is the word that I really am trying to understand what it means, and maybe you can tell me what it means. If you are being used as a sex object, isn't Jerry Seinfeld being used as a humor object?
Well, that's a good question. What kind of object is he when he is posing with us? I'd call it entertainment. I'd call it pure entertainment.
I mean, think about this for just a minute. I mean, he obviously, like when he is out doing his stand-up, right? People just watch him to make us laugh. You don't sit there and say, gee, I wonder if Jerry had a bad day today. I wonder if he feels well. I wonder if he's sick. I wonder if he is, maybe a little depressed right now with his life. In other words, it is true that it's easy to sometimes forget some of the important questions. Like, for example, when you were posing with that photo shoot with Elke, it is true a lot of guys, they forget some of these questions, like were you sad when that happened? Were you stressed out when all that happened? It's very easy to forget.
So what you're saying,
questions.
Are you saying that they're not thinking about all of the negatives? You're bringing out something, like you're making them forget about their problems.
Well, see,
and that's good.
Understand is the term sex object. What exactly does that mean? Because if being a sex object is degrading, then wouldn't a humor object be just degrading? I mean, wouldn't we be degrading Jerry Seinfeld if we were just watching him do stand-up? Because remember, we're forgetting about all the things that we would be forgetting about when we watch you. It's just that you're getting different reactions. I mean, it is true that I think what they're saying is that you forget that Barbara Moore is a person, and I agree that it is possible to be so aroused that you forget about that or whatever it is. But I've never forgotten. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I don't sit there and think if Jerry Seinfeld's doing stand-up, is he having a bad day? You see, but these people, and actually what's sort of funny is that, I mean, isn't that what the people who, I don't know, I mean, that's why I don't understand what the term sex object really means. Because if you can have a sex object, why not have a humor object? Why not have a drama object? Why not have,
Right.
people who are listening to me right now? I could be a podcast object. Nobody's really sitting around there thinking, "Did you have a good day, Johnny? Are you feeling well, Johnny? Are you?" Because nobody thinks about that. When in reality, I don't know if the word sex object is even a degrading term when you really think about it, because that's what they mean. Oh, you're using women as sex objects. Well, you use Jerry Seinfeld as a humor object.
Maybe at that
Right?
moment. Right. You're using it at the moment. I haven't had too many people just only focus on that. I have a lot of fans, and I get new fans too, which is cool, that they always love to find out who is that person behind that photo. Who they want to know. Most humans want to know who the other human it really is, the real. I think nowadays this is more evident than ever, because they want to see the behind the scenes video. They want to see the real. They want to see the live. They want to see the live Facebook feed.
I will tell you something
so
that I've
interesting
noticed.
to people.
And I'll tell you something that I've noticed with playmates that I don't see with porn stars. You talk to a playmate, the playmate will be like, "What'd you do today?" "Well, I went and I bought groceries. My dog's butt needed cleaning," meaning that they need to do. Or I took my daughter.
Like the girl next door, like half always.
Yeah, I did my homework.
Said we were,
I did my daughter's homework with her. Okay, now the reason that to me is appealing is that's attainable. Okay. That's
right.
the way the world really works. I mean, you wake up in the morning, I'll tell you about things that I don't like to do every day that everybody has to do. I go to bed at night and I have to put a mouth guard on my mouth. I don't like doing that. I mean, it would be great if there was a way, but that's what we do. But see, these porn stars, whenever they talk about what was their day like, they make it think like they sit around all day in a hot tub with candles.
Why?
And
Why, Johnny? I want to know. Like, why do they feel like they can't be real at all? Why? They can't break the.
I don't know, but I mean, it just seems like I don't
the
know,
hard
but it's
sex thing.
It's
they can't break
fake.
that.
I mean, it's fake. I mean, that's not the way the world works. We buy food in the grocery store. We go to gas stations. We drive cars if we can drive cars. We have and there are also some things that may be hard for people to talk about. Now, you've been through some things.
Okay.
I'm not going to
hold on. You're telling me I don't even know this world. I don't know this world, but are you telling me that they never act real? They don't show their real side, the porn stars? Do they not? Besides Ron Jeremy, who is, but he's the most famous, and he shows his real side all the time. So, like, why don't they start trying to show their real side? Because that could be very appealing to people.
Female porn stars, I've seen, don't do that a lot. I think they tend to be more.
Why?
I don't know.
Why do you think?
I mean, I think it's because they're afraid to show the real world. I mean, it's like, for example, like like probably, I would think that if somebody was a porn star or has been a Playboy Playmate, that, and usually just people are like this, if you get to be, say, 50-something, 52 or 3, and you ask them, was there ever a time when you were scared for your life? Now, most people have at least one or two instances where they were. And I'm not saying you have to talk about it, but I'm sure there are probably some instances in your life where you were afraid for your life. Okay? Now, that's hard to admit. It's hard to admit because it's a vulnerable thing to have to admit. I'm not going to force it out of you. But what I'm saying is that I'm sure there have been times when you were afraid for your life. Now, that doesn't make you any less beautiful. It actually makes you more beautiful. Not that you had to go through being afraid for your life, but what I'm saying
because you're showing vulnerability.
Well, you're showing vulnerability. You're real. you don't have to be Superwoman to be a
You're not
knockout.
untouchable.
Right.
They might have a chance.
It's actually kind of nice, like when we're FaceTiming and then I'm like, well, what are you doing? Oh, I'm cooking dinner. It's not you're not some genie that can snap her fingers and make the food appear. What are you doing? I'm helping my daughter with her homework. What did you? Like another thing, I think it was about a couple of weeks ago. You came into the chat and then you said Petal Rose died. You were talking about Petal Rose died. That is human. Okay, that's the way the world works. We have. I guess.
By the way, you should never erase that chat, Johnny. I was just thinking just now. Our chat is so valuable. Like, how you can delete your whole chat? You should never do that. Because we're going to look back. Remember I asked you, oh, Johnny, do you remember our first conversation of when you asked me to come on the show?
Yeah.
And you pulled it up. How did you do that? You pulled that up right away. And you showed it to me, and it was just so fun to see that. So that'll be fun.
Well, one of the things that I thought
how long have I been on the show? How long?
You would be, I think, 8 months.
Since April 3rd.
So it's almost 9 months. And I think
that's 9 months of chatting between
and I
all
think
of us.
that, but one of the things that's really kind of funny is that, when I called you up to talk to you, to have you interview you, it wasn't for any of the reasons that you thought it was. You said because of the fall. No, what fall? It had nothing to do with the fall. It was just.
Yeah, I'd like to hold on. I'd like to ask you, what is your fascination with the Playmates? Because you have asked many of us on your show. So how did you get so smart to know? Get a Playmate on the show. That's pretty smart because we do have a fan base. How did you ever come up with this?
Okay, what it is that I'm not going to lie to you. For a long time, I did buy into the stereotypes. I thought that Playmates probably didn't have much of a personality. They probably weren't very bright. They weren't, they didn't, it's just that women like that, women who were beautiful and had personalities just didn't exist. Well, one day I was selling vitamins. You remember I was selling vitamins. Yeah. And then I was talking to Linda Weissmeyer. And Linda Weissmeyer says, okay, I'll buy vitamins from you. And I was like, what? I'll do it. And it was only her and I think 3 other people that did it. And after that, I began to get a lot of respect for Linda. And I realized that other women who had posed for Playboy were actually more like her than what I thought. And then I started, when I started talking to people and I realized I was like, oh my God, these are really sweet women, they're beautiful. It's you talk to a Playmate and then you think, okay, well, she's not going to be, she's sweet, like Terry Lynn Doss, she's very, very OCD. So, you talk to her and she's like, what are you doing? I'm here with my cat in the closet, and then you realize they're nice to you. They're actually nice to me. And then I realized that, that I had been wrong. That I had somehow, I think it was because there was a lot of assumptions pounded into me by people who thought things about Playboy. They said, well, they may look like that, but they may not have much upstairs or something. And I realized that that was not true at all. And so I grew up, so to speak, as I guess if you want to call it, for lack of a better term. And I was never mean to anybody or anything like that. I was a playboy, but I realized that I just never talked to one. And then when I got to talk to one, I realized everything that I had thought was true turned out to just not even be true. I mean, it was
thank goodness, Johnny, that you were intelligent enough to look outside of all of that and see something different. I mean, your eyes were open, basically.
I was kind of blinded by a lot of it. I was blinded by the stereotypes for a while. But then you get to talk to them and you realize, these are sweet women, and they're not jerks, they're not obnoxious. It's like, when we had you would think, I think what it is they're so, you keep thinking that that they're gonna thumb their nose at you and walk right by you. But then you meet them and you realize, right, they don't. And Linda Weissmeyer was just this incredibly warm girl. Just sweet. She was wonderful. She was nice.
Did she pass away?
She passed away from brain cancer.
I don't know. I didn't know her. What do you know her month and year?
I don't remember. I think it was 82 or something. But like she was in the movie Teen Wolf. Do you remember the movie Teen Wolf? Okay.
I did not see that, but I've heard of it.
Okay, yeah. But it just seems like it was. I mean, that's why it took me a little while, and I think it's because there are certain ways that people are betrayed in movies. Like it is true, they very rarely, whenever there is, they always betray. If the woman is betrayed as being very, 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 very beautiful, she's very rarely nice. And that just seems to be the way they do it. Just like, did you ever watch Seinfeld?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there was an episode where they meet this bubble boy. Okay. And,
I know. Okay, bubble boy.
Right.
Yes.
And the whole point about the bubble boy is that it is true that in a movie, whenever someone is portrayed as having a disability or being in a wheelchair or having something that requires them to be bedridden or something, they're portrayed often as the sweetest people in the world. That's true. It's like we generally I have cerebral palsy, so I generally get it better than you do in the movies. It's like in Something About Mary was sort of these. That's why Something About Mary, the way Something About Mary worked, it was kind of like, wait a minute, there's this dance. Wait a minute, you want me to go with you? You're asking me to actually go.
Movie.
But it's
that's the biggest compliment, Johnny, that you say that. I remind you of that character in the movie because, I felt that too when I watched that movie of, she's so beautiful, she's so pretty, and then, wow, she's smiling, and she gets up in the morning, and she gets on her bike, and she goes to the burger place, and she buys like 20 hamburgers, and she goes to the park, and she hands them out to all of these disabled, and
right.
One of them is her brother, and it's just so endearing, and it's like you want that. You want a pretty, beautiful girl to be
right. You
good.
Want the
You want
it
so
much.
It's
so funny.
And when it happens, it's amazing.
But see,
it is. That's
so
the best compliment ever, Johnny.
But not only that. What's so funny is that in the movie, everybody likes Mary. Everyone does. I mean, they all have a thing for Mary. And what's so funny is that on one hand, it's comedy, but on the other hand, it actually makes sense because,
it's great writing.
I mean, of course. Yes, everybody likes Mary because Mary just it's like she contradicts the natural assumption that people make that if you're very, very beautiful, you must not have much of a personality, and
Right.
and
She proves
or
everybody
if
wrong.
right, she puts everybody wrong. So yes, Mary
Hmm.
is very appealing. Mary is extremely. That's why you're like
Mary's
Mary,
everything. Mary is everything,
right?
basically.
And
And she's
and
funny, and she's fun, and she's loving, and she's kind, and she's witty, and
and
she's
that's why I
intelligent,
would
and
love
she's
to have.
supportive.
That's why I would love to have Cameron Diaz play you in the movie, because it's just sort of it's like all she needs to do is act like Mary, and you get Kelly. You get
That'd
Barbara.
be perfect, because I think we're about the same age. That'd be perfect.
Yeah,
I would love her to play me as well. I would love that. Perfect casting. Perfect.
I mean, it just I was just. But that's the point. It's like, but you understand how it is true that Hollywood portrays certain things a certain way. Like have you noticed that
Well,
the whole
it's
thing
like,
about the disabled
you know what?
person?
It's not about Hollywood, swaying everything and monopolizing the way it is. No, it's Hollywood looking at us. It's Hollywood looking at the people and creating stories
Well, what
from
they do.
what they
this
see.
is what I noticed that
That's
they do a
what
lot.
it
This
is.
is what they do a lot. When a guy likes a girl, okay, they always do these stories where it's two girls. The guy basically what they do. This is what they always do. Whenever it's a romance, like of a guy that gets the girl in the end. What they usually do is they bring in this girl that's really, really good looking that he likes, okay? And then he eventually chooses this girl that they sort of don't dress up as much in the end. And they always do this. And think about this for just a minute. There was this chat that I had with one of my roommates in college. And he was talking about how, like you see this good-looking girl, and she has this really nice car, and you think this is the girl that you like, but really you shouldn't even go anywhere near her. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute, what are those two things? What does it suddenly entail a bad person? I mean, just because somebody looks good in front of a camera and they have a really nice car. That doesn't, how does that entail a bad person? Now, I will tell you this. When I was growing up and I was 15 years old, my sister told me that most 15-year-old girls want a blonde-haired football player. She's probably right. Okay? At 15, most girls want the blonde-haired football player. But you can't just assume that and this goes for the other gender, that every blonde-haired football player is a jerk. You can't always assume that, there are probably I'm sure that some blonde-haired football players that are saints. But it's
now,
just
why are these quarterbacks always like the pretty boy types? I've wondered this, okay? You can't just go into, you're stereotyping me. But it is something. Why the stereotype, that issue even ever come up? Because it is something, okay? Why are all the ice skaters, not all, but most, high percentage of ice skaters beautiful? Okay? Why are all the quarterbacks on the team pretty good looking and charming? Why is that? I want to know. Why are all the ballroom dancers usually, attractive? I'd like to know.
Well,
there's a certain type that is a magnetic type of field that draws a type to that position. It is something. There is something about it. Otherwise, why would there become a stereotype about it? Why? But
right.
It's not fair when they take the stereotype and then make it negative, which it doesn't deserve. The playmates are all stupid, or the playmates are all bitches, or the playmates are all irresponsible.
Assuming that everybody that has a disability in a movie, they always portray the movie. It's like the Bubble Boy, but the funny part, what makes that whole Bubble Boy thing funny, you don't know why that movie is funny. The whole Bubble Boy is funny, right? But you know why it's funny? Well, because you have this kid that's a bubble, and he's not being portrayed as a saint. Wait,
are you talking about the Bubble Boy who is living in a plastic house? Like he couldn't touch the air.
No, I'm talking
that
about
same
the
movie?
Boy from the I'm talking about the Seinfeld episode where
I don't know about. I'm
okay.
sorry.
There's this particular episode where he goes to meet the Bubble Boy, okay? And the comedy.
Who's the Bubble Boy, Johnny? Johnny, who's the Bubble Boy, please? A lot of people might not know, like me.
Sorry, but there's a Seinfeld episode where Jerry goes to see this fan of his that's a Bubble Boy. And the Bubble Boy gets portrayed as, a jerk. You see, and usually they don't do that. That's the last thing they do. It's always, it's always if somebody's disabled, they're portrayed as being very, very sweet.
Very nice and sweet. They don't want to offend. So did you get a kick out of that one?
I got a kick out of it, and I understand. Not all disabled people are going to be nice to you. They're just not.
Yeah.
But then
a lot of them are totally a-holes.
Right, but that doesn't mean that
they have. I've seen it. I've seen it. And they're people. It doesn't matter if they're in a wheelchair or they're disabled. They're either nice or they're not.
Right. And just like, there's going to be, and I think what they do with the gorgeous woman, it's always looks don't matter. But then you assume that there's nothing there's no inner beauty. So what they do is they they take out the beautiful woman. They say, okay, in the movie it always goes like this beautiful woman. Okay, they have this beautiful woman. Okay, here. Oh, well, wait a minute. Look, inner beauty matters. Well, what makes you assume that this woman? That's the thing. This assumption that Playboys don't have inner beauty is what I'm trying to say. Is I think what we're getting to, and I know that's not true. You are proof that that's not true. Elke Jensen is proof that that's not true. Shauna Sand is proof that that's not true. Linda Meismeyer is good proof that that's not true. I'm sure you can name some other names.
A million names. Thousands at least.
But
yes,
anyway,
Johnny,
we're out of time.
are we beating up a dead horse here? Okay. We got it. Okay, we got it. We did get it.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear about one of the other highlights on my trip?
Go right ahead.
Okay. I went to this castle, and I did not know, but Germany is known for the best castles in the world. You could think, well, maybe it's this country or maybe it's that country. No, I read about it. It's Germany. So I said, I am not leaving here until I go to a castle. And so my daughter and I went to Buckeberg Castle. And this place, you're in awe. When you go there, I'm going to post a picture soon on Facebook, so everybody please watch for those. Because, oh, wow. It's not the same in the photo. You have to go. How did they do this, though? 800 years ago, or 200, or 100 even. 300. How did they build this? They didn't have what we have today. This is kind of like, well, how did they build the pyramids? This is like almost like that's how I was feeling. I was standing there in awe like that. So I'll be posting those pictures soon. And this certain castle it's not owned by the government. It's not it's privately owned by this nice couple. So they show about, 15 rooms out of 250 rooms in this castle. And it is fantastic. So if you ever go to Germany, don't leave before you've seen a castle. That is one thing. But this certain castle has horse stables, and they still give riding lessons to actually teach them how to do the royal horse training and how to prance and jump and kick the legs out. And I mean, it's a full-blown riding school. So it's totally cool. It's called Buckeberg Castle. I love it. And that was a highlight. And Lübeck was a highlight. Hanover was a highlight. Cologne, Germany was a highlight. And next time I go back, I must go to Hamburg, I hear.
Well,
so we
that
didn't
answers
make it to Hamburg this
question.
time, but yeah.
That you answered my question of when do you think you'll go back?
Oh, wow. I would like to go back every 2-3 years. The only thing that is stopping me, I mean, I wish that they had that Concorde jet, you know, the one that just took you so. Why did they do away with that? And if they haven't, please write in to Life Laughter Happiness, people. I'd like to know a faster way of getting there, because that 11 and a half hours plus another flight plus all the travel. Oh my gosh, that's grueling to me. It's just, oh my gosh. You know how hard it is to be on a 5-hour flight? You know? Do you know how hard that is? Well, try 16 hours, because we were on the ground for 2 hours before we even took off because of a maintenance computer issue they had to fix. So add that on to the 11 and a half hours, plus the other little jump flight you have to do an hour, but you're still in the airport. You're still there for an hour before and hour after and 2 hours here and there. I mean, you know, it's a travel day of about 16 and a half hours, maybe 17 by the time we got back home. Okay, so, wow, that was a lot. If I could do away with that, I'd go back once a year. But if I have to do that, maybe every 2-3 years. So why do you ask? Why do you ask that question?
Because that was my next question. You know, you said, you were saying, you know, it got me thinking. I think when you go to a place more than once, you have a better blueprint of how to handle yourself. Because, like, the way I remember it, you were saying about how, oh my God, I don't speak English, all this other stuff, you know, all this. I mean, you know, you feel kind of out of your element a little bit. I mean, you're in a place where nothing is in your language, and you know, and
yeah,
it's true. You said yourself, a lot of people.
You don't have your normal food. You know, I mean, they give you a sandwich with salami in the middle for breakfast, and you know, you've got a little daughter there, and after 17 days, that was like, okay.
Do you have like a Domino's?
There's no place like home. They do, but they had a hamburger place, and my daughter, I have a lot of friends in Germany because a lot of friends came out to America to see Elke, which I made friends with, and then when I went there, I would like to see them, and so I did. So one took my daughter to Five Guys. It's a hamburger place, and it's a new in Germany, and I think I just saw it here too. She says it's the best hamburgers. So they took her there, so she was able to have that. And you kind of just do want to have your normal food, but I didn't feel that so much in Germany as when I went to Brazil or Santiago, Chile, I remember. But then again, I was a lot younger. So I think that all the world travel that I've done, you just kind of mentally, unconsciously are already preparing yourself for that. So that's all fine because, you know, you want to like test out a different culture. It's interesting. It's great. It's wonderful. And I did. But there is really no place like home. It does make you appreciate your home. It broadens your horizons, definitely. You don't care about a lot of other little things that you left here with. You go, you come back, the little things don't bother you anymore. It's kind of weird. It's hard to explain, but once you do travel abroad, you'll see. You will understand. And those of you who have done a lot of traveling, then you'll say, wow, that's cool, Barbara, cool, wow. And what's next? So what is next? Well, I'm not thinking about where I'm going to go, but I'm thinking about who's coming to me. And I hope that's going to be Johnny Boy. I hope you're going to come over here soon.
As soon as you said coming to me, I knew you were going to think of me and Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
and Kelly, too. And come on over and bring all of the reptiles with you.
Okay. Well, we're about out of time, but did you want to do the shout-out?
Sure. The shout-out is to. It's so cute that you came up with calling it the shout-out. Shout-out means that we would like your support, everybody, and we hope that you enjoyed this show. I really enjoyed doing the show with you, Johnny.
Thank you.
And you really had some great points and thoughts and deep thoughts, definitely deep, deep, deep. And that's the Johnny that I am so glad that you were able to see tonight, because that's who I talk to every day. So don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and see our 300 shows, 300 and something shows now, and pick and choose. They're there for you, and they might not always be there for you unless you are special. So get it while it's hot now. Right, Johnny? We got a lot of ideas coming your way. We've got a new series coming. We're going to announce that tomorrow. So go to our Facebook group page and check out that announcement, and our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't forget us, because we are not forgetting you. We love y'all.
Love you all. Good night, Barbara.
Good night.